Wait, hang on. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to tonight's City Council meeting. Oh, what happened to Bob?
Oh,
right away.
yeah, he's coming.
We lost one.
There we,
Did he go get dinner?
no,
Oh, here we go.
yes, there we go. Emergency.
Dust storm warning.
One yesterday.
That was awful.
Count him.
So is he in there?
Yes, yes.
In the restroom?
Yes.
Okay. Did somebody not tell him there's two bathrooms?
No, there was only one. There was only one open.
Oh. Here comes your phones.
Yep. I had, my watch already got.
All right, so we'll start tonight's meeting. Welcome, everybody, and welcome to the City of Casa Grande's City Council meeting for the 17th of August. First order of business tonight is our call to order, and then invocation and pledge of allegiance. So, Pastor Juan, would you please lead us in our invocation, and then please remain standing for our pledge of allegiance.
Heavenly Father, we come to you and ask you to bless and keep us in this meeting. Lord, have your face shine upon our city. We who are here and we who are not able to make it. We ask you, dear Lord, to be gracious, the kind, loving toward all of us gathered here today. And be gracious and kind for our city, our nation, and most of all, Father, help us to honor you. We invite you and your presence to come into this meeting tonight. Come, Holy Spirit, come and help us and give us the wisdom, the discernment, the understanding, and the knowledge to do not only our will, but to do your will, Father. Father, we pray that as we pray and we come and we wait upon you, that you, Lord, will renew our strength, that we will mount up with wings of eagles. We will run and not be weary. We will walk and not faint. Yes, Lord, we decree and declare this evening, Father, that we shall have an effective and a spirit-filled meeting, that we decree and declare that will be blessed in this gathering, coming together as one, that you will cover our city, our mayor, our council, the auxiliaries, the police and fire department, the health and services, Father, the schools, all of the auxiliaries in our city, Lord. That with this, as we come, we ask for a hedge of protection around our city, Lord, around our people, Lord. Lord, because we do one thing, and this is the one thing we shall do. We put our trust in you. Because we believe in the word in Mark 11:22, 23, and 24, where Jesus told his disciples, have faith in God. For if you do, you can tell the mountains to be cast into the sea. If you pray, believe, and have no doubt, then what you pray for, it shall be done. So, Father, according to your word, this thing is done. It's done. It's done. And the blessings are coming, coming, coming. In Jesus' name we pray. In Jesus' name we pray. In Jesus' mighty and matchless name we pray. Let everyone who loves the Lord say,
Amen. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
You
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Pastor.
Thank you.
We're awake.
Thank you, Lisa. All right, next item on the agenda is our roll call. Let the roll call show that all council members are present.
So noted.
Minutes,
Mayor McFarland, we have the city council regular meeting minutes from August 3rd to approve, and then the planning and zoning commission minutes from May 7th to accept for the record
Second.
as presented.
Second?
all right, it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the minutes are approved. We'll move to item D, claims against the city.
29th through August 11th, 2020, as presented.
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded for the claims of July 29 to August 11. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right. Next item is item E, which is our meeting agenda approval for tonight. Does anyone have anything that you want to change, move?
Mayor McFarland, I move approval of the agenda as presented.
Second.
Was that a second?
Second.
Thank you. So it's been moved and seconded to approve tonight's meeting agenda. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, the meeting agenda is approved. We do have a special presentation tonight, I'm excited to say. And it is the swearing in of Officer Horst. Congratulations. Well, wait, you're not sworn in yet.
Oh, yeah.
I, Sean Christian Horst. Do solemnly swear. That I will support the Constitution of the United States. And the laws of the state of Arizona. That I will bear true faith. And allegiance to the same. And defend them against all enemies. Foreign and domestic. And I will faithfully and impartially. Discharge the duties of police officer. According to the best of my ability. So help me God.
Congratulations. All right. Appreciate you, appreciate your family. So thank you, officer.
Be safe.
Yeah, be safe out there. Okay. Love to see that. Next item on our agenda is the consent agenda. All items listed with an asterisk are considered routine matters and will be enacted by one motion and one roll call vote of the council. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a council member or member of the public so requests, in which event the item will be removed from the consent agenda and considered in its normal sequence of the agenda. Does anyone have anything you want to remove from the consent agenda? Public-wise, council-wise, staff-wise? Okay, seeing none, then can I call for,
Mayor, I move that we approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
all right, it's been moved and seconded. Can I get a roll call vote, please, Gloria?
Councilmember Huddleston.
Yes.
Councilmember McBride.
Yes.
Councilmember Herman.
Yes.
Councilmember Quartzen.
Yes.
Councilmember Powell.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Fitzgibbons.
Yes.
Mayor McFarland.
Yes. Okay. Move to next item on our agenda, which is item I, which is award of contracts. We'll start with item I1, consider ordinance number 3216. He's cleaning the microphone on the platform, or podium for you. Mr. Lewis?
How's everybody doing? Thank you, Mayor and members, City Council. Staff is recommending that the Mayor and City Council authorize the purchase with Toter LLC in the amount not to exceed $65,202. This is for the purchase of 1,272.69, I'm gonna get this all messed up tonight. 96-gallon residential trash containers. This is our annual purchase of our 96-gallon trash containers for the sanitation department, and we are asking authorization to use a City of Tucson contract number 171717 with Toter LLC, and that's taking advantage of the national IPA program. Last year, we delivered 1,233 containers to residents throughout the city, some for new service, some for replacements. And this is our annual amount that we purchase so that we have enough on hand to maintain our operation. We currently have 380 remaining in our stock. The price from last year, it was $50.12 per container. This year we're at $51.26 per container. A slight increase, but not like some of the increases we're seeing in some of the construction products that we're purchasing. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Anyone? Questions? Thank you, Kevin. Seeing no questions, then can I call for an ordinance number, please?
Ordinance number 3216, an ordinance of the Council of the City of Casa Grande, Arizona, accepting a bid from Toter LLC for the purchase of 1,272 96-gallon refuse containers and authorizing expenditure of public funds and authorize execution of a contract with or purchase order to Toter LLC.
Mayor McFarland, I move for the adoption of ordinance number, oh, the number just went off my screen.
3216.
3260 as presented.
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Can I get a roll call vote, please, Gloria?
Councilmember Huddleston.
Yes.
Councilmember McBride.
Yes.
Councilmember Herman.
Yes.
Councilmember Cortson.
Yes.
Councilmember Powell.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Fitzgibbons.
Yes.
Mayor McFarland.
Yes. Okay, item I2, consider ordinance number 3217. Kevin?
Thank you. Staff is recommending that the mayor and city council award a contract for maintenance and repair services to each of the selected firms in the Exhibit A that was provided to you in your council packets for maintenance and repair services on an as-needed basis. This is our annual re-up of our maintenance on-call program. And again, these are contractors that we're able to use both in the Public Works Department as well as other departments throughout the city on a regular basis as needed. No one contract will exceed $25,000, and no aggregate contract for an entire year will exceed $150,000. The annual maximum in the past was $50,000, and we've upped that because we often get a contractor that multiple departments take advantage of for different services, and we can run out of opportunity to use them on that as-needed basis quite quickly. We did qualify all 26 firms that issued their request for qualifications through our evaluation process. And again, there's no guarantees we'll use any of them, but this program has been very successful for several years, and we want to continue it as long as council will authorize that. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Go ahead, Lisa.
And I know we do this every year, Kevin, but can you remind us, how do you get the word out to the different companies throughout the state, really, because a lot of them aren't here in Casa Grande, but how do you get it out, the message out?
Well, we publish it through the city clerk's office, like we do any of our outreaches, any of our public processes. We advertise it in the paper, and then a lot of contractors are very aggressive. They call us up all the time, when is it coming out, when is it coming out? So people do like to take advantage of it, and I think if you look through that list of 26 companies, quite a few of them are local contractors that we've really been able to develop a great relationship and use on an as-needed basis in very short order to get projects done. I will tell you, without having the on-call project during this COVID event, we wouldn't have been able to complete a bunch of small projects that we needed to ensure our safety of the residents who come into our facilities as well as our employees. So, great tool to have in our toolbox.
Great. Any other questions? Okay, seeing none, then can I get an ordinance number, please?
Ordinance number 3217, an ordinance of the Council of the City of Casa Grande, Arizona, approving the terms and conditions of 26 agreements with various companies for the purpose of providing various maintenance and repair services for fiscal year 2021, and authorizing expenditure of public funds and authorizing execution by the city manager of the 26 agreements.
Mayor McFarland, I would move for approval of ordinance number 3217 as presented.
Second?
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Can I get a roll call vote, please?
Councilmember Huddleston.
Yes.
Councilmember McBride.
Yes.
Councilmember Herman.
Yes.
Councilmember Cortson.
Yes.
Councilmember Powell.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Fitzgibbons.
Yes.
Mayor McFarland.
Yes. I would like to see us try and get that word out somehow. Maybe there's different ways we can look at to try and get it to, especially our local companies, because I know there's a couple of companies on here that I expected to see, but they're not on here. And maybe they are too busy and they just didn't want to do it, so.
And there were some that we expected to see as well and thought they would be, and they aren't.
Yeah.
I can't
So-
answer that.
Mr. Mayor, if I may just briefly address that question.
Sure.
One of the best way for vendors, either locally or outside the city limits, is to register on our city website to receive all notices. Now, if you're registered, you'll get a generic email that says, we have a call for bid for professional services. If they're interested in that bid, they click on it and it takes them to our website where all the documents are located. Per our city purchasing policy, we are required to publish it in the newspaper at least 15 days before we close for the bid. We post it on our city website, we post it at our 2 posting locations, and again, we do advertise it, but the
Yeah.
best method is
And
to
I know you guys,
register.
I know you guys get it out everywhere that you can. It's just, every year we've talked about this, it just gets kind of disappointing that we don't see some of our other local companies on the list. I know it's not per se our fault, so but I just want to try and get the word out there. I know the PIO is doing a really good job. When you sign onto our website now, it asks you if you want to get notifications, right?
Yes,
So
it does.
that's the first thing it asks you,
Right
which
there.
we didn't have before, so that's great. So that should help a little bit. Okay, sorry, didn't mean to digress. I3, consider ordinance number 3218.
Thank you. Staff recommends approval of a contract with Allison Mills Construction for CMAR services for the Lucid Motors Thornton Road Driveways project. Staff went out to, excuse me, I'm going to start over. I apologize. Staff recommends that the mayor and city council authorize a contract with Allison Mills Construction for the construction manager at risk contract to provide design phase assistance and general contractor and construction services to construct 2 driveways on Thornton Boulevard to provide access to Lucid Motors. This project will provide the relocation of piping for the San Carlos irrigation project at both of those crossings. It will also construct acceleration, deceleration lanes, construction of the 2 driveways, including any culverts for drainage, and then construction of any traffic control, with the exception of traffic signals. It does not include traffic signals. We did do a formal request for qualifications and had 9 firms submit those qualifications. One was determined to be unresponsive, so we did go through the evaluation process of the remaining 8 firms, and we did determine with our review team that Allison Mills was the most responsive and responsible submitter for their qualifications. And they also have a very unique knowledge of the area and know what we're going to be dealing with out there as we move forward with this project. We were fortunate enough to start working with Allison Mills prior to us bringing this guaranteed maximum price to council. Because they were on our maintenance and repair on-call, they were able to start working on the irrigation project actually this morning, relocating that ditch and putting that culvert in the ground. So they were able to perform the pre-construction services under our on-call, and now we're bringing just the guaranteed maximum price to you. The guaranteed maximum price for this project is $992,859, and we also have an owner's contingency of $200,000, bringing the total cost to $1,192,859. Funding for this project was identified in this year's budget, project number 17068. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Bob?
Yeah, is this part of a development agreement or something with Lucid? I mean, just on the surface, it sounds like the city's paying for something for a private entity. I'm sure there's some explanation, but can you go ahead and tell us what that is?
Yes, it is part of the development agreement that we'd entered into well over a year ago with Lucid, and it was to perform certain improvements along that roadway to provide access to the project.
Okay.
Matt?
I want to say, I'm happy it's going to a local contractor, obviously, and also I've known from dealing with this for so long that it's quite a challenging project because there's a lot of entities to deal with and a lot of undergrounding of stuff that's been there for a long time. So I know you guys at your department and at the manager's department had a lot of work to get this done, and it's much appreciated so we can
In a short
get this
time,
going.
too.
Yes.
We're looking forward to getting it finished as well.
Any other questions for Kevin? Okay, seeing none, then can I get an ordinance number, please?
Ordinance number 3218, an ordinance of the council of the city of Casa Grande, Arizona, accepting a proposal from Ellison Mills Contracting LLC to provide construction manager at-risk services for the Lucid Motors Thornton Road Driveways project, authorizing expenditure of public funds, authorizing expenditure of public funds, authorizing the execution of a contract, and authorizing the transfer of budget authority between accounts.
Mayor McFarland, I move approval of ordinance number 3218 as presented.
Second.
It's moved and seconded. Can I get a roll call vote, please?
Councilmember Huddleston.
Yes.
Councilmember McBride.
Yes.
Councilmember Herman.
Yes.
Councilmember Cortzen.
Yes.
Councilmember Powell.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Fitzgibbons.
Yes.
Mayor McFarland.
Yes. All right, item I4, consider ordinance number 3219. Kevin, you again.
Thank you. Staff recommends that the mayor and city council authorize the purchase agreement with Empire Southwest LLC in an amount not to exceed $792,138 for the purchase of a new 623K Caterpillar scraper for the use at the city's landfill. The scraper is one of the most essential pieces of equipment out at the landfill. It provides a number of services for us, including putting the required topsoil, cover material on top of the landfill at the end of each day, as well as our blending process with our wastewater solids out there. We blend our solids with the topsoil to stretch those materials out as far as we can. Our existing scraper was placed into service in 2013, and is approaching 7,000 hours of life. And we're right at that point in the useful life of this piece of equipment to evaluate whether we rebuild, we purchase, or purchase a new one, or extend the useful life of this piece of equipment. So we worked with the experts at Caterpillar and went through a very detailed evaluation with our sanitation staff, public works staff, and our engineering division on whether we should move forward with replacement or rebuild. And we are recommending that we're moving forward with a replacement at this time based on the price and then all of the components that go into that. And one of the key tipping points to this decision was looking at the age of our existing piece of equipment and the trade-in value. At this point in its useful life, the trade-in value in this agreement is $312,850. Now, if we were to consider extending the useful life of this particular piece of equipment out any further, then we're looking at some very large maintenance costs associated with this piece of equipment, and we start to lose that cross point where it's cost-effective to keep or replace. That was the trade-in value was the tipping point for this decision, and we did not make this decision lightly. We think it's the best way to move forward. This project was budgeted for in this year's project number 25063 for $850,000. Now, one key component to this piece of equipment is our total maintenance and repair coverage that we're recommending to purchase with that project, and that is included in the total cost, and that is total replacement bumper-to-bumper service on this unit for 5 years with the opportunity to extend that 2 additional years. And that last 2 years is where we start to decide whether we want to rebuild, replace, or give it some additional useful life. So we'll see how it's performing at the end if approved. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Mary?
Doesn't Caterpillar also have we would be able to buy it through a Casa Grande agency?
The Empire is.
Well, we're currently purchasing this through Empire, which is right out of
Empire,
Eloy.
Empire is the
I
Arizona
understand,
company.
but we're paying taxes to Pima County.
We're actually paying taxes to both Pima County and Maricopa County,
Okay.
because that's where the sale
Okay,
is
and
actually
so I guess
made.
that's where I'm going
We
at.
don't have an opportunity to purchase it
So we
from
can't,
here.
so the taxes, there's no way, because even though we have a local company here, we can't collect the tax on
Well,
it.
it's either that or Eloy,
That's correct.
All right.
because they're really in Eloy.
Well, I'd give it to Eloy before I would give it to Pima County, so it was just a question. I just found that interesting that the
It's a good
taxes
question.
were going.
I have no
second that.
influence over those rules.
We need to get them moved from Eloy to Casa Grande.
Okay, that was my
Empire,
only
I mean.
question.
Matt?
Hi, Kevin.
Hello.
Kevin and I, we've had some discussions today about this, and, you know, I'm always a fan of trying to rebuild what we have. I actually called the sales rep listed on here, talked to him. He told me about a municipal leasing option as well. I know how important it, I mean, I really get it. We use this every single day. And, I mean, we have one that's only 7 years old. He said it's about 70% through its life cycle. And I realize at the end it could get more expensive. And he also talked to me about the municipal leasing. He said he'd be glad to give us a presentation on that, because then we know exactly what our costs are so we can budget it. And there's that. And I don't know, I asked you, I think today, if we could purchase a further TM&R agreement on the one we have that would mitigate our risk. Because, I mean, this is $800,000 in this economy right now. And again, I'm proud of our city because we're responsible. We have the money to pay for it. We've been budgeting it. But that doesn't mean we have to spend it this year. So, and you did a good job helping me, but I want to kind of see what some more options are for us, or have you looked at those options?
So I'll try and answer a couple of those questions. There may have been more comments than questions, but to extend a TM&R warranty, we would have had to have had one in place. We do not. We have just their standard warranty. So we've been maintaining, for the most part, all the repairs on this vehicle that were outside of that warranty. I'm not aware that we could be offered a TM&R on the existing piece of equipment moving forward. Okay, that's one. We did look at the municipal lease option. We had them present that to us. We provided that information to our finance department. They did a full evaluation on that offer, and they determined that outright purchasing of this piece of equipment was the best way to go. So I think that was it. If there was a question I missed, I
And what's the
apologize.
possibility of going another 2 years with this?
Again,
I know it's a risk, right? Because
There-
something could happen tomorrow, or something could happen in 5 years.
there are a lot of unknowns, and I will tell you right now, we're looking at some very high-dollar repairs that we are able to push off right now, but we won't be very near into the future. So we start to look at those large expenses and the reduction of potential trade-in costs, and now all of a sudden, both rebuild and purchase options start to increase.
And
So we're at that sweet point based on industry standards, and obviously, I don't define all this information. We rely on Caterpillar and their expertise. I mean, they've been doing this for a long time, and this all makes sense, so.
And I appreciate that. And also the trade-in value was a big part of this. I understand. That's what he told me as well. And I'm glad to hear that you looked at the municipal lease option, because like I had a discussion today, I go, I don't know much about that, but we have really smart people that work for the city, and you guys did do that, so that makes me feel a lot better about it. Thank you.
Any other questions? Anyone? Okay, seeing no more questions, then I will ask for an ordinance number, please.
Ordinance number 3219, an ordinance of the council of the city of Casa Grande, Arizona, accepting a bid from Empire Southwest LLC for the purchase of a 2020 623K Caterpillar scraper and total maintenance and repair coverage, authorizing expenditure of public funds and authorizing execution of a contract with or purchase order to Empire Southwest LLC.
Mayor McFarland, I move for the adoption of ordinance number 3219 as presented.
Second.
All right. Can I get a roll call vote, please?
Councilmember Huddleston.
Yes?
Councilmember McBride.
Yes.
Councilmember Herman.
Yes.
Councilmember Cortson.
Yes.
Councilmember Powell.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Fitzgibbons.
Yes.
Mayor McFarland.
Yes. All right, next item on the agenda is I-5, consider ordinance number 3220.
Thank
Mr.
you,
Tice.
Mayor, members of council. This agenda item pertains to the approval of a contract for on-call professional services, specifically for plan review and inspection services for our building and fire prevention work groups. So it's very similar to the Public Works on-call professional service contract I believe you approved at your last meeting, as well as the on-call maintenance one that Kevin presented to you earlier this evening. But again, this one is specifically for those firms that can assist our building and fire prevention work groups in doing high-level complex plan review and also some inspection services where we might have staff overloads. Typically, these services would be only called for large projects with complex construction plans similar to Lucid, Nacero, those types of projects where we really just don't have the expertise in-house to deal with some of those higher level construction issues, or we have time constraints that we really need to move very quickly. The RFQ for this, we had good response. We had 8 firms. Of the 8 firms, some could provide building plan review services and building inspection services. Some could provide fire department plan review for fire systems, sprinkler alarm systems, et cetera, and fire inspection services, and some firms could provide all of the above. Staff is recommending that we offer on-call service contracts to all 8 of the firms that applied. They're all very qualified. I'm going to note one difference between this contract and those others that I referenced with Public Works is that although the maximum amount of $150,000 to any one firm is the same, the amount for one project has been increased from $50,000 to $100,000. And the reason for that increase is because these firms typically charge 75, their rate is like 75% of what we, the city, would charge for plan review. And once we build buildings that are over $22 million in cost, our plan review charge is $81,000, and their 75% of that is $61,000. So we needed to bump that $50,000 level up because we might exceed that with just one building. But the total $150,000 limit is still in place. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Is that because we're putting some big buildings in?
Yes, some very expensive buildings.
Mary?
Just for my own edification and that, so in other words, if we have a big project and that sort of thing, and we use one of these vendors and that, there's a little bit of a cost savings for that?
There is. They would charge us 75% of the fee that we charge the applicant.
Okay.
So we would still receive 25% of our normal fee. I don't use building permit fees to pay them because I need budget authority under this contract to pay those firms. But essentially, yes, we would pay them 75% of the fee that we would receive.
Okay.
Any other questions? Bob?
Just a comment. As a manager, I assume this is a great tool for you to get the plans approved in an expedited manner. Otherwise, we may be looking at backups of plans that need to be reviewed. So for that purpose alone, I appreciate it. I think we need to present ourselves as a speedy process to get these plans reviewed, approved, and back out to the developers. So for that alone, I'm in favor of it, and I appreciate you doing this.
Paul, it's also an opportunity, especially with some of the new projects that we have coming in, that maybe we don't have the expertise in that particular area, so we can call on these people's expertise that they've dealt with it before, like we haven't dealt with it, like a paint shop, for example, at Lucid.
Or
different.
lithium battery storage.
Right, lithium battery storage, yeah.
Those
Yeah.
kinds of things, yes.
Matt and I could help you if you need help.
Lots of water.
So, yeah, for both what your comments and that, I think this is a good call, so.
Yeah.
Okay, any other questions or comments? Okay, seeing none, then can I get an ordinance number, please, Gloria?
Ordinance number 3220, an ordinance of the council of the city of Casa Grande, Arizona, approving the terms and conditions of 8 agreements with various companies for the purpose of providing building and fire plan review and inspection professional services for fiscal year ending 2021, authorizing expenditure of public funds, and authorizing execution by the city manager of 8 agreements.
Mayor McFarland, I would move for the approval of ordinance number 3220 as presented.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded. Can I get a roll call vote, please, Gloria?
Councilmember Huddleston.
Yes?
Councilmember McBride.
Yes.
Councilmember Herman.
Yes.
Councilmember Cortson.
Yes.
Councilmember Powell.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Fitzgibbons.
Yes.
Mayor McFarland.
Yes. All right, next item on our agenda is item K, which is consider a resolution 5257, which is declaring and adopting the results of the primary election on August 4th of 2020.
Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, staff recommends that council adopt a resolution accepting the results from the city's primary election held on August 4th, 2020. Attached to the resolution are the official results that we received from Pinal County. The following candidates did receive a majority of the total votes, the total number of valid votes for the office sought, and are hereby issued certificates of election. For the mayoral seat, Craig McFarland. For 3 council seats, we have Lisa Navarro Fitzgibbons, Jeff Lavender, and Donna McBride. I would be happy to answer any questions that you may have. Also like to note that since all of our seats have been filled in the primary election, the city will not have a council election or any other city issues on the November general election.
Mary?
I just want to say congratulations to everybody.
Thank you. Yes, congratulations to my 3 council members who
Well,
were running.
it says a lot, it breaks a lot of confidence when someone says you're doing a good job.
Mayor, I move approval of Resolution 5257
I'm sorry,
as
Mr.
presented.
Mayor, may we have a reading of the title, please, first?
Oh, yes, sorry. Can I get a resolution number, please, Gloria? Thank you,
Res-
Mr. Powell, though.
Resolution number 5257, a resolution of the mayor and council of the city of Casa Grande, Arizona, declaring and adopting the results of the primary election held on August 4th, 2020.
Again, I move approval of Resolution number 5257.
Second?
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Can I get a roll call vote, please?
Councilmember Huddleston.
Yes.
Councilmember McBride.
Yes.
Councilmember Herman.
Yes.
Councilmember Cortson.
Yes.
Councilmember Powell.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Fitzgibbons.
Yes.
Mayor McFarland.
Yes. Congratulations, everybody. Or maybe I should say condolences after the last 6 months. All right, public meeting, public hearings, and open record review. This is item 11 on our agenda. Item L1, public hearing and consideration ordinance number 1178.404.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of council. I am going to be presenting this item in place of Planning Director Paul Tice. Of course, my name's James Gagliardi.
Thank you, James.
No problem. I'm just waiting for the PowerPoint to load
The
up.
screen to light up. There we go.
Here we go. So this is a request for a zone change from B2 general business to R3 multifamily residential. The applicant, Steve Wallace of Foothills Development, is requesting to rezone this 2.5-acre property of land just north of Sonic and Giddens Tires on the west side of Potabom Avenue from B2 to R3 to accommodate plans to develop the site as a multifamily development. Upon rezoning, if it is to be approved this evening, the development will require Planning Commission approval of a major site plan. That has not yet been submitted, but when it does, it would go in front of Planning Commission for consideration. Though we don't have a major site plan yet to be reviewed, the applicant did provide a concept plan that does show their intent to construct 5 separate 5,000 square foot single-story fourplexes for a total of 20 units. Now, under its current zoning of B2, it primarily accommodates low-intensity retail or service outlets. As an R3 zone, it's a multifamily residential zone district intended for high-density housing in multifamily structures. What's considered high density would be 20 dwelling units per acre, which would be permitted under this general plan land use designation, so that could yield 49 units. However, the applicant is proposing only 20 units, which would be about 8 dwelling units per acre. When reviewing zone change criteria, there's 3 criteria that have to be addressed, and the staff report provided in your packets covers those thoroughly. However, I am going to briefly touch upon these 3 criteria for you. The first zone change criteria that's considered is that the action is consistent with the city's general plan, including the goals, policies, and applicable elements. So both the existing B2 zone and the proposed R3 zone are listed as appropriate zone district within the community center general plan land use category, as this area is designated. Within the land use element of the general plan, the following goals and policies also support this zone change request. Firstly, we are to support infill development in areas where infrastructure capacity and services are already in place and available. This site can easily be developed because of the existing infrastructure in place along Potabom. And we also are to encourage infill along Florence Boulevard, specifically between Pinal and I-10. We're to support a wide variety of housing choices. Of course, the multifamily will help meet a need in Casa Grande for multifamily. And then also, we are to allow a broad range of residential, business, and commercial uses to support community activity in this location. Another zone change review criteria is that a rezoning is considered to conform with the general plan if it proposes land uses, densities, and intensities within the range of uses, densities, and intensities of the general plan. So as I touched upon on a previous screen, 20 dwelling units per acre would be permitted here per the community center land use designation, and assuming that this is under a 25-acre site, applicant is proposing 8 dwelling units per acre, so meeting that, not exceeding that density. The community center section lists as an appropriate land use higher density residential developments, so this can easily be accommodated at this location. And then lastly, the third review criteria is that the proposed zone change is necessary and proper at this time to meet the land use needs of the residents of the city. Multifamily development has been recognized as a needed housing choice. Last reported to the planning department is that many of the apartment complexes are running at near full occupancy. The last apartment complex to be constructed or completed in Casa Grande was in 2014. So it was 236 units that was added to the existing multifamily stock. Since 2014, the same amount of time, there's been over 5,000 single family and manufactured homes permitted. So clearly there has been a need for some additional multifamily properties. Planning Commission considered this request at its July meeting, and they had unanimously recommended that City Council approve DSA 20-00093, the zone change from B2 to R3 for this property located off of Potabom. And that's the end of my presentation. I understand that the applicant is in attendance, should you have any questions for him.
Lisa?
Not questions, but comments. You know, when I saw this, I was excited about it because we all know that there's a shortage, you know, for housing, and especially multifamily. So Steve Wallace, I know he's here, and Steve, I really appreciate you doing this, because I think I read in our packet that this is property you've owned. Yeah, so you decide to do this, and I know the work that you do, and I know it's gonna be a great, you know, project, and it'll be a great infill, and it'll also provide a need that we have in this community, you know, for the demand of multifamily. So I just appreciate staff working with you and you doing this, because it's definitely something we need in the community. And Steve does a great job,
Yeah.
if you guys don't know.
Ditto.
I'm sure they do, but.
Do it soon.
Yeah.
I know. When you starting it.
Any other questions or comments? Matt?
Lisa said it all. Thanks
Yep.
to Mr. Wallace for doing this much-needed project and a good location
Definitely.
for it.
Definitely, definitely. Mr. Gagliardi? Oh,
And
Bob?
This will come back to council when there's actually a site plan for the project? Is that correct?
I don't think so. I think it goes
No?
to planning and zoning, and I think it's done.
Okay, and my question is the density. The applicant is proposing 20 dwelling units?
Eight. Only 8.
That's correct. Mr. Mayor, Councilmember Huddleston, the general plan would allow as many as 20 dwelling units per acre. However, the applicant is only proposing a density of 8 dwelling units per acre.
Oh, okay, per acre, okay. And could that be increased between now and the actual project?
Mr. Mayor, Councilmember Huddleston, because the major site plan has not yet been submitted, he could technically propose a more dense project so long as it gets approval by Planning Commission. It's still within the limitations of the general plan, so he wouldn't be able to exceed 20 dwelling units per acre.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Any other questions or comments?
Just a comment, that normally is gonna have to be, apartment buildings, right?
Correct.
3-story probably, huh?
Mr. Mayor, Councilmember Powell, the concept plan that the applicant provided
I don't mean for
supposes
this one, but
single-story.
I meant just basically that at that amount of homes per acre, that you basically are talking about some kind of an apartment building.
Yes.
Any other questions, comments? All right, seeing none, then would call for an ordinance number, please. Yes, oh, I'm sorry. This is a public hearing, so I will open the floor to the public. Anybody have any comments on this project? Please come forward. Okay, seeing none, then I'll close the public hearing and call for a ordinance number.
Ordinance number 1178.404. An ordinance of the Council of the City of Casa Grande, Arizona, amending zoning ordinance 1178 and its subsequent amendments by changing the zoning from general business to multifamily residential, approximately 2.47 acres of property located at 805 North Pottybomb Avenue, Casa Grande, Arizona.
Mayor McFarland, I would move for passage of ordinance number 1178.404 as presented.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Can I get a roll call vote, please?
Councilmember Huddleston.
Yes?
Councilmember McBride.
Yes.
Councilmember Herman.
Yes.
Councilmember Cortzen.
Yes.
Councilmember Powell.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Fitzgibbons.
Yes.
Mayor McFarland.
Yes. All right, thank you. And we'll move to the next public hearing item, and that is L2, and consider ordinance number 1178.371.1. James, are you going to do this one too?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Also, I do want to inquire if you want to read all 3 zone change requests into the record, because my presentation does cover all 3.
Yeah, I know the next 3 are on the same subject, so yes, that'd be fine, and then we'll just vote on them independently, and we'll have 3 public hearings on each one. Right. We'll have 3 public hearings for each one, I said, each one.
Yeah.
Each one.
3.
Got it.
And I guess my question is, are they independent of each other?
No, well, they are, but they aren't. They're all the same piece of property.
So I understand that, but as we listen to this in the presentation and that sort of thing, we either approve them all, or if we don't approve.
Well, you're gonna vote on each one, so it
Alright.
doesn't, I mean, you can,
Separately.
you can,
Each item, you're gonna have 3 separate items. so
yeah, there's 3
we'll
separate hearings, 3 separate
determine
items.
On each separate item, whether you believe in your legislative discretion that zoning should go or not. So it's possible you could pass all 3, fail all 3, pass 2, pass 1.
Okay.
They're
Oh,
each
that was my
separate.
question.
His
But since it's one
but his
property,
presentation's over
presentation
the whole property.
Okay,
Yes.
good.
Okay, good.
All right. Thank you.
So yes, please, James.
All right. So for clarification, there are indeed 3 different zone districts proposed, but because it all is presented by one applicant and one parcel at this point, there's some benefit to cover all 3 zone changes as one presentation.
Okay.
A little bit of background about the subject property. It's 57.3 acres approximately, and it's currently zoned R1A, which is single-family residential attached. This zoning came into place in 2016, and it allows single-family attached or detached homes on 5,000 square foot or larger platted lots. The applicant is requesting that this parcel be rezoned from R1A into 3 separate districts. 9.9 acres is being proposed from R1A to B2, which is a general business zone district adjacent to Quartzon Road. 22.5 acres is proposed to go from R1A to R4, which is a mobile home residential zone district. And just under 25 acres is proposed from R1A to PAD-RV, which stands for Planned Area Development for Recreational Vehicles. Now, essentially, these 3 zone districts, I'll walk through what each one accommodates. The B2 zone district accommodates low-intensity retail or service outlets. It's primarily intended for the provision of goods or services on a community market scale. And this is considered to be an appropriate location for B2, being located right next to a major arterial road. The R4 zone is intended for the development of manufactured home communities at medium densities. Both stick-built and manufactured homes are permitted in the R4 zone district. The minimum lot or space per dwelling is 4,500 square feet. The PAD-RV zone is designed for a recreational vehicle park development. RVs or park models are allowed. 1,500 square feet is the minimum space size per unit. I do want to note that both the R4 and PAD-RV areas will be leased spaces. They won't be subdivided lots, so no platting or further subdividing would be required with this development.
How long would the leases extend?
The applicant is in attendance, so he could speak to the arrangement for those leases.
Yeah, if it goes over a year, it's a subdivision, you have to have the water available, certificate, appropriate water. I checked with that today, I called in on. If it's a lease less than a year, not, but if it's a lease over a year, then they have to have that water thing before they can do anything. And I don't know if there's going to be any water available for any of this, truthfully.
And I could have the applicant certainly speak to that point.
Won't we save that question, and then we'll bring up the applicant when Mr. Gagliard is done with his presentation. You okay with that, Mr.
Sure.
Okay, go ahead, James.
So more specifically, the B2 zone, it would allow future commercial uses, ideally complementary uses to the RV and manufactured home parks. The R4 area is proposed to provide 108 leased spaces for manufactured homes. As I mentioned, the minimum square footage allowed per space would be 4,500 square feet. And in the PAD-RV area, the plan would be to provide up to 225 spaces for RVs. 1,500 square feet is the minimum space size. They're proposing 2 types of spaces here. There would be 120 pull-through spaces, which would be larger than what the minimum is allowed by code at 1,750. And those pull-through spaces would accommodate the traditional RV, as you see on the screen. But 105 spaces would be for standard spaces, which would accommodate park models, as shown here. Now, park models, sometimes people confuse that with manufactured homes. Although they're technically considered RVs, they can't exceed 400 square feet in size. and they're usually set in such a way that their ability to be readily moved off the property is immobilized, such as the axle being removed and it being either ground set or a stem wall is provided. Some other aspects of the PAD RV zone per code is that there's particular development standards that would have to be met, such as particular landscape requirements per space. And I do want to point out that the south row of spaces, those that are closest to Silver Reef, closest to the single-family residential area, would be designated for park model spaces versus the standard RV spaces. When considering zone changes, there's 3 criteria that have to be addressed, and the staff report goes into the further analysis for this, but I do want to touch upon the 3 for tonight's presentation as it applies to all 3 zone change requests. The first criteria that I want to talk about is that the action is consistent with the city's general plan, including the goals, policies, and applicable elements. This area is designated within the neighborhood's general plan land use designation. And we are to support infill development in areas where infrastructure capacity and services are already in place and available. Since this is served by Cortson to the north, Casa Grande to the east, and Silver Reef to the south, there is a considerable amount of existing infrastructure that can lend itself to this development. Of course, the applicant would be required to submit a major site plan, which would entail a number of other reports and analyses that would analyze the site to ensure that the development standards and engineering aspects are met. The other criteria as part of this first item that is looked at is that we are to support a wide variety of housing choices. So when we look at housing choices that are available in the Casa Grande market, there's single-family stick-built homes, multifamily, and then there's manufactured and RV park models. So this is basically seen as offering additional housing choices to the market. The second criteria is that rezoning conforms to the general plan if it proposes land uses, densities, or intensities within the range of identified uses, densities, and intensities of the general plan. So the R4 area proposes a density of 4.82 dwelling units per acre. In the RV area, the PAD RV area, the density is proposed of just over 9 dwelling units per acre. Within the neighborhood's land use category of the general plan, residential densities up to 18 dwelling units per acre net are permitted on single site developments of less than 25 acres. Accordingly, the 22.5 acre R4 zoned area for manufactured homes and the 24.9 acre area to be zoned for PAD RV comply with this general plan standard. And of course, B2 does not yield any residential density because no dwellings are allowed in the B2 zone. However, regarding the B2 zone, the neighborhood's general plan land use category supports that zone district, and that is an appropriate zone district to accommodate many of the appropriate uses within the neighborhood's category. The third criteria is that zone changes are necessary and proper at this time to meet the land use needs of the residents of the city. So when staff looked at this site developing both as a manufactured home area in the R4 and an RV area in the PAD section, we looked at the growth rate most recently. So from 2019 to 2020, the growth rate was 2.39%. However, so far this year in 2020, the growth rate is 3.5%, which is anticipated to continue at that rate. We've considered there's 4 basic housing types that can accommodate this rate of growth. There's the single-family stick-built homes, which reflect about 70% of those permits historically. Multifamily ideally should represent 15% of the permits. And manufactured homes and RV park models combined should represent the remnant of about another 15%. So development here does provide a needed housing option among that percentage of the various housing choices. And I do want to point out that currently, as an R1A zoned property, development cannot presently occur here for individually lotted stick-built homes, as this property does not have certificates of assured water supply, which would allow a residential subdivision. However, other housing types which do not require subdivision or cause can be accommodated, such as multifamily or an RV park or a manufactured home park where spaces are leased. As part of the notification process leading up to Planning Commission, we did receive several emails and also walk-ins from various surrounding residents, and their locations have been shown on this map here. And their comments and concerns have been gathered and compiled and put as part of the public correspondence in the staff report. But in summary, the majority of the concerns was regard to compatibility. You know, when you look at the area, there is a lot of single-family residential in the area, and there was question as to whether this would be compatible if the manufactured homes and the RVs would be compatible with the single-family home developments around there. There was also concerns regarding property values, concerns regarding drainage and traffic. And then at the Planning Commission hearing itself, there were 2 residents that were in attendance, who were actually 2 additional residents who had not provided previous input. And so I noted them as well. And their concerns were also about compatibility, flooding, property value, and water pressure due to the additional development nearby. In order to best address these concerns, I would say that although this rezoning would establish the entitlements for those 3 respective zone districts, the next step would be to provide a major site plan for the development, where we would have additional opportunity to review from an engineering standpoint, utility reports, traffic reports, drainage reports, etc. Regarding Planning Commission's recommendations for the area to be proposed as B2, there was a 4-to-1 vote recommending that City Council approve the B2 zone change, subject to 5 conditions, which have been reflected in the ordinance this evening. At a vote of 3-2, Planning Commission made a recommendation that City Council approve the zone change from R1A to R4, subject to 2 conditions as part of the ordinance. And at a vote of 3-2, Planning Commission made a recommendation that City Council approve the zone change from R1A to PADRV, subject to 5 conditions that are a part of that ordinance. As I touched upon on the previous slide, if the zonings are approved, the next step for the applicant would be to submit a major site plan, and there would be an additional public hearing before the Planning Commission, and there would be a number of engineer reports, including a drainage study, traffic impact analysis, and water and sewer reports to ensure that the development does not create negative off-site impacts to the infrastructure. And then after that step, there would be a site development permit to actually do the grading and extension of utilities onto the site, retention basins, channeling of water, etc. and a public improvement permit, which would be required for those necessary half-street improvements that get prompted with development. So there would be some additional improvements made to Quartzen, somewhat to Casa Grande, although just a small part of it abuts Casa Grande Avenue, and then also to Silver Reef on the south. And this concludes my part of the presentation. The applicant is in attendance as well.
Okay, since this is a public hearing, can we hear for the public first? I can do it in any order, right?
Yes, you can certainly hear from the public. Again, because they were done as separate public hearings, you should open the public hearing first for the first item, which is the,
Or would you rather,
Zoning.
would the council rather speak about each one first? Because you can talk, we can talk about them all together, right?
you're ultimately gonna be able to talk about all of them, you know, intertwined.
Okay.
Because, in order to keep the public hearings clean, you should probably open them, you know, one at a time.
Yeah.
But they obviously are still going to be all considering the same property. So commenting on the zoning generally is gonna be okay.
Okay. Well, then, let me open the public hearing first. We'll do it for item L2 first. Now, can the public speak about the whole general zoning?
The public ultimately will speak about whatever they really want,
All right.
subject to your stopping them if you so desire. But I believe they're so intertwined.
Yeah,
You
okay,
know, you're gonna probably grant them a great deal of leeway to speak about whatever they wanna speak about.
okay. And I will grant a little bit longer than the 3 minutes since we're talking about 3 separate pieces here. But please try and keep your comments to within the 5 minutes, if you would, please. And then, and then after each person does come up and speak, I would ask you to please make sure you wipe the mic off for the next person that comes. And also then please state your name and your address, and go ahead.
Okay, my name is David Zanizer. I live at 491 East Dartmouth. I have resided there for 16 years in College Park. My biggest concern is that this project, this land has been used as a drainage basin for Casa Grande Avenue during that 16 years. If you look at your plot plan here, that little road or whatever it's supposed to be comes in east-west and goes north-south. That basically is a drainage ditch that the city of Casa Grande has maintained on this property for 16 years that I know of. And people tell me it's been there forever. That's the only thing that keeps Casa Grande Avenue from going underwater. We get the slightest rain and Casa Grande Avenue is flooded curb to curb around College Park. Everything from Viola down to Racine is basically underwater. And even in spite of the city digging on that ditch every year, and this year they actually lowered it down, and maybe a foot, maybe they're trying to get it deeper, I don't know. So my concern is, I don't believe the project will add flooding to Casa Grande Avenue, but I'm not convinced it's going to end the flooding on Casa Grande Avenue. And that's my big concern. I do know the people that are doing this project are doing, what is it, the one on Viola and O'Neill.
Spanish Trails.
Spanish Trails, yeah. And I've reviewed their work. They're doing an excellent job, lots of retention, and they're probably going to help the flooding issue on Casa Grande because there won't be much water coming off that property. But I'm not convinced that they're going to be able to stop the flooding on Casa Grande because most of the water on Casa Grande comes from the east side of Casa Grande Avenue. Everything over on Barris Park, everything between Racine and Cottonwood, all the apartments, all the homes in there, no retention ponds. Nobody's collecting the water on that part of town, and it dumps on the Casa Grande Avenue. Now, are these folks going to be able to get rid of it? I've talked to the owner, Peter Holden, several times about it. He thinks they're going to be able to help it but who knows? I like somebody in the city, an engineer, somebody to tell me that this project is going to reduce the flooding on Casa Grande Avenue. How are they going to accomplish that? That's my number one concern. Second issue is Casa Grande Avenue and Courtson. Since elementary school, bus yard was put on Courtson Avenue. Very difficult to get off Casa Grande Avenue on the Courtson. The buses can't make the turn. They're trying to go east on Courtson and turn south on Casa Grande Avenue, and they can't do it if there's any traffic there. So this project's got to have something done with that intersection. I know that when this gets approved, there'll be a traffic study. All I'm telling you is that that intersection is a problem now, and you haven't even started moving dirt on this property yet. So that's my issue. Mainly, I at first was somewhat opposed to the RV park. I've been a lifetime RV owner. I own one currently. I've owned an RV since 1970, hard to admit that. But I wasn't sure why we want an RV park in a residential area. I do believe the gentleman who's doing this project has good business sense, and I hope he knows what he's doing. I just don't see it there, but that's me. Okay.
Okay, thank you, David.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Okay, any other public? Sorry to call you public. Again, please, why don't you wipe that mic off and then give us your name and your address. Just want everybody to be safe.
Okay. My name is Nancy Wood, and I'm at 513 East Veckel, just to the east of the property and a little bit south, so in the Burroughs Park area. But the water that comes through those neighborhoods up there goes to Casa Grande Avenue and down and through this property. And basically, it's a river.
I've been on it when it's wet.
Yeah. So, you know, one of the big concerns is the amount of water and the drainage. Where you have people coming in and out, actually where the water is going to enter and leave the property. And, you know, whether that kind of use and as far as mobile homes and RVs is appropriate with the kind of drainage and runoff that's going to have. I don't have really any problem with the business section of it because, you know, most of that's probably going to be traffic off of Courtson. So, but any kind of traffic that's going to be Casa Grande Avenue, like the previous gentleman said, it's water from curb to curb at times. It's basically a river. And the more traffic you add on Casa Grande Avenue, the more splash out water problems you get, because you literally have to drive kind of off to the side of the road on either side just to get down. The more traffic you have, the more problems you have with the water. And it hasn't rained this year, unfortunately. But the big concern is the drainage and how they would handle that. And I've lived in Arizona all my life, so I've watched a lot of the developments, you know, Tucson, you know, the Pinal County area, up in the Phoenix area and such. And, you know, there's been good designs for some of these washes, because Arizona is full of dry washes, and then all of a sudden you have a whole bunch of water coming down them. And some of them have been handled well, some of them not. And, you know, I kind of hold the premier of how the washes can be handled by the Indian Bed Wash in Scottsdale, because it's a wonderful use area that when there's a lot of water on it, it handles it fairly well. And then at times when it's not, then people can use it, and it has, you know, a big draw to the whole community. It really is added value. So I really wonder about the planning for the site and whether it's forward-thinking about how that property is going to be used and how it could be used. How it could be actually more of an asset to the community because of the kind of, you can make, it can be a problem for drainage, or you can make it into an asset. So like Indian bed wash is an asset. But they didn't put homes there, and that's my concern with, the mobile homes and the RVs with the drainage problems and the water in that area. I wouldn't be comfortable with that, living in that. And the homes don't really match up with the mobile homes and the RVs. I'm not really, comfortable with the kind of, you have RVs and you have people coming and going all the time, so you don't have any continuity of people in the neighborhood. It's more transient because they come and go. And it just, I don't particularly care for the RV part of the planning. I think multifamily homes would be, apartment complexes or something like that would be probably more appropriate. And I think in this city is really short. And with all the development of places like Lucid Motors, and you want corporations to come in and things like that, they would really be, multifamily homing development would be more of an asset and be used, especially since people are starting to work from home more, and that people that might have jobs that aren't even in Casa Grande would live here in Casa Grande and work from home. So, I don't think the manufactured homes and the RVs kind of add to that kind of environment. And I'm thinking about the long-term planning for Casa Grande and how it's used and what'll bring a lot of value to the whole city. And I hate to see it look like an RV park from one end to the other. It's too much in one place. They have the one development that they have that's to the south, and then they're gonna put this in, and it's too much, too close together, because it adds a lot of traffic up and down Casa Grande Avenue, and it doesn't really fit in to me to the neighborhood, which is why I kind of picked this, location. It was really, really a pleasant environment with families and children and things like that, and so I hope you would not approve the RV part, especially. The manufactured homes would be a little more acceptable. The RV, I really don't feel that is a good fit for that neighborhood. So.
Okay. Thank you, Nancy. Is there anyone else who would like to address the council on this? It is a public hearing. Okay. Well, I'm going to close this public hearing and open the L3, since I think everybody kind of talked, but I still need to formally open them. Okay. Is there anyone who would like to speak on L3? Okay, then I'll close that one. And L4, public hearing, also on the same, not the same ordinance, but it's the same zoning amendment. Okay, I'll close that one. And then I'm going to throw it open to the council then for questions. And you said the applicant is here? Do you mind? We can ask you questions directly. Bob?
Yeah, two questions. I'm James May.
Oh, I'm sorry, could you give us your name?
Yep, Peter Holden, 4980 South Alma School Road, Chandler, Arizona.
Thank you, Peter.
James may have covered it, and I apologize if he did, but is this being presented as a gated community with private streets?
Yes.
Okay, and is there age restriction?
55 and older.
For the whole park?
Whole park.
Okay, and is the business area is that gonna be behind the gated community, or is that gonna be open to the public off of Quartson Road?
That'll be open to the public off of Quartson Road, and I imagine we're gonna have to put a second, we're gonna have the same entrance off of Quartson, but it'll be a driveway. So the gate will be back further into the park. Where, so if you come in, whatever that road's gonna be called, coming in off of Quartson going south, there'll be a right turn in there.
Okay. Well, that, you answered my questions. Thank you.
Matt?
Yeah, regarding the park models on the south side along Silver Wreath, will those be ground set or raised up?
Raised up.
Could you make them ground set to blend in with the neighborhood more?
I don't know how, I've never ground set an RV before. I guess it could be done.
Yeah, the park models, not the RVs.
I mean, the park
Yeah.
models. I've never ground set one before. We typically set it up with a stem wall around it.
I mean, just curious, because I appreciate the people coming tonight, and it sounds like one of the biggest issues is drainage, which we'll get to that, but then, the compatibility with the neighborhood, and everyone's really great about it. There's some concerns. Looks like a nice project. But, I guess the thing is the compatibility between the site-built homes and the park model homes. And so a couple questions with that is, one, could they be ground set? Would that be that big of an obstacle?
We can do that.
Because that way, they'd be lower down, so they wouldn't be higher over the fence.
Yeah, we could do that.
And then, another thing, someone brought in planning zone, I was reading in the minutes, why wouldn't you swap the two? Like the mobile home versus the RV, the manufactured home versus the RV, so that the manufactured homes are along the residences and then the RV park is.
I think the reason why we done it was the lay of the land, because you have that creek or wash, whatever runs through there now. And if we flip the property to what it is, if we put the RVs on the mobile home side, you have a smaller piece of property. We can't get as many RV units in there. And you can't get as many mobile home units the way the land lays by doing it that way. And we need to net a certain yield to make it work. And that's
Okay.
how we get it.
I remember with the Spanish trails and the people, basically the other side of this neighborhood, and they were real acceptable to that. And again, you got a lot of compliments from the first gentleman there about working with them and making it a nice
Yeah, we had
project.
the phone call with Dave and
Yeah.
some of the other guys about it.
So have you reached out more to these residents? I mean, obviously you talked to him, which is great.
Yes, we did.
I mean, because it seems like there was a lot of opposition, and now it's kind of going down, and people are.
Yeah, we had neighborhood calls. Our engineer talked with a bunch of people. Dave and, what was the gentleman, Dave? Yeah, there was another gentleman on the telephone. There were supposed to have been, there were supposed to be more people there that day and didn't show up, correct? Yeah. So we did reach out to the neighborhood and try to discuss and figure out options and solutions to any concerns they would have.
Because, that's part of being a neighbor, obviously, and I know you guys want to do that.
Sure.
Because they have rights as property owners, but as do you, as a property owner as well.
But we both have to live together.
Exactly, for a long time,
Yep.
hopefully, right? So the ground setting would help a lot, I think, on that south wall.
Okay.
Because, like I said, I'm familiar with the product, and a lot of them, when they set them down, then it's not up above the wall so much.
Yeah.
It looks more like a site-built home.
That's typically what we do with the mobile homes, is
Yeah.
ground set them. I just never did personally do an park model, but we can do that.
Because, I think that would help the neighbors
Mhm.
a lot.
Okay.
And then you guys are doing a neat thing with the open space trails corridor to connect from that one. And I know it connects down south to your other
Yep.
project as well. Now the drainage, and I grew up like 3 blocks south of this map here, my first home with my parents in Casa Grande in the 70s and 80s. And Casa Grande Avenue when it used to rain, does indeed flood.
Yeah.
Unfortunately haven't had that happen this year. Can you help I know it has to go through engineering, and I don't know how far we can go on this part of it, because it seems that's the biggest concern of the neighbors.
Sure.
That I'm talking about. How does that work? I mean, between your project and the city, I know we own the street, and that was designed as a drainage. Like I said, I think I floated down it when I was a little kid. How does that work, that we work with them to make sure that you're not contributing? And I know the new laws, you have to retain all your water.
Yeah.
But can you help alleviate the problem? I'm no engineer by any means.
Neither am I. I'm far from it. It's much above my pay grade.
Uh-huh.
We've got a lot of green areas there, a lot of retention areas. I know some of the folks have talked about the drainage being a concern there, but you can do 18 units to the acre of multifamily there. And if you'd done that, how would you ever get drainage there? At least now we're gonna have a lot of open space. I mean, the mobile homes and the RVs isn't gonna take up as much space as an apartment building, a 3-story walk-up apartment building would take. So between the retention areas that we're creating in there, the green space that we're creating, and I believe there's some type of creekway that runs alongside that road that goes north and south and east and west, will have some type of drainage and runoff. Currently, right now, I understand that the culvert that is on Courtson is plugged and overgrown, and no water is draining through that underneath the road to the other side of Courtson where it should be going. So things like that will alleviate. Just that alone would fix some of the water issue, I'd imagine, that's coming through there.
And the open space on the south side, 22 feet. Now, is that, it says 15 foot on site and 7 feet in the right of way. Is that on the other side of the street?
On the south
so
side,
is that measured, is the 22 feet measured from the north side of the street to, or is it the half street?
I think it's measured from the north side of the street.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's what I would assume, but I don't,
Yep.
I don't want to do that. And then we didn't talk much about the street on top that I remember along Courtson, which is kind of one of our pains as we do these piecemeal type things, but you would be responsible for that part, correct? Okay. That's all I have so far. Thank you for
Okay, thanks.
for listening to
You
that.
leave some for the rest of us?
Sometimes I have to go last too. So.
Mr. Powell, did you have any comments? Do you want to ask that question on the lease time?
The leases that you do, do they last more than a year?
12 months or less.
I'm sorry?
12 months or less.
12 months or less?
Yeah. Nothing over a year because we don't have assured
Did you
water.
have to keep redoing them every year?
Yeah. We've been
That's
doing
kind
that.
of a scam to get around it, I guess, huh? Because you're supposed to be providing water, and you don't have any water available for it.
I got a letter, I don't know if it helps or not, from Arizona Water, a will serve letter, as long as it's under 12-month leases for the property. So I don't think I'm actually scamming anybody.
Will serve, I talked to a guy on it today, and he said that's kind of out there.
I have the letter from them. I don't intend to scam anybody. If it's 12 months or less, they tell me that's what it is. I can do that legally. And
You
that's
can do
we-
what now?
If they tell me, Arizona Water, that it's 12 months or less, the leases, I don't need certificate of insurance, so they gave me the will serve letter for it, for that site.
Is everything you have there leased?
Yes, everything's leased.
Everything on the place?
They own the homes, but they lease the space. It's ground lease.
They what now?
So everybody that's there owns their own home, but they lease the dirt from us. It's land lease.
Okay, they lease the homes from you.
No.
They own the homes, lease the dirt.
So they purchase a home and either have me put it there or a dealer, and they rent the space from us, like the rest of the mobile home parks in the community.
I don't know that you're not gonna have to have a certificate.
If I was doing over 12-month leases, I believe I would, or if I was selling the lots as a subdivision. But being that it's gonna be under 12 months of leases and not a subdivision, I don't need it.
Like an apartment.
Yeah, I think you're gonna run into problems on that. Are you gonna have any motor homes or anything like that on the place?
Yes.
You know that, I went around the corner, Matt was telling me, and I went out on Rodeo Road and made that turn there, and you went into the I got it written down because I always forget what they are, the park models, and it looked really neat until you got to the end of them, and then there was all of these motor homes and stuff out there that really looked junky. And you can see it from Pinnell Avenue as you go by. If you look to the east there, it's a mess.
Casa Grande RV, across the street from my development.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah,
Is that near Val Vista? in Pinal?
On
Rodeo. It's on
Are you talking
Rodeo.
about Rodeo?
It's on Rodeo. It's just
Rodeo.
south, it's across the street from Coyote Ranch.
Yeah.
Can't think of it.
Behind the
Yeah,
Circle K.
it's called Casa Grande RV.
I've probably passed it and can't remember it. We're gonna be more like, without the golf course, Palm Creek. They have more motor coaches that's in there versus the older RVs, such as it's in Safari Mobile Home Park or RV Park, Pinal, right near the
They
Spanish
also
Trails.
have park, they also have park models at Palm
They
Creek.
have some, yeah, and they have a lot of park models in there.
Where are you gonna put the motorhomes?
On the pull-through spaces, it's in the center of the park.
Where?
The pull-through spaces that you see on the map in the center of the park. So we're making them longer than pretty much anybody has in town. It's 70 feet lots lengthwise. So it'll handle motor coaches. So it's the big buses versus the little tiny RVs.
Are you going all the way along Silver Reef and then on down with the 6-foot fence that's set back 20 feet?
Yes,
Trees,
yes.
one tree for home
On the outside the tree or the inside?
on the outside,
I'd probably
or on
say.
the inside, I don't, either
On
one.
the inside, we will not have a tree for every home, no.
You know, if you drive, those are some of the nicest homes at the end of College Park, and there's not a home there that's not really well taken care of. They're impressive. And there's 12 of them, and I hate for them to be looking out all of a sudden and had, you know, they're in the College Park thing and seeing a bunch of motor homes and that type of thing. It just doesn't seem right.
I'm not sure they're gonna see motor homes because we're gonna have the wall landscaping and then we're gonna have park models along there that's gonna be ground set in the ground. So I don't think you're gonna see motor homes from Silverleaf
Where would you put them?
in the center of the park.
In
If
the
you look-
center?
Yeah, so if you look on the map, you'll see the pull-through looking spaces.
It's the pull-through.
Yeah.
They have a point.
No, I know that's gonna be ground set.
Silver Reef.
Silver Reef, yeah. Well, it's a, I tell you, there's people in town that are starting to complain about too many home situations like this and wanting to see the stick homes built again. And some of the people in this area, one of the guy wrote in here that, you know, he wanted to stay out of an HOA, so he got a home there. And he said, now my property values are going down. I'm sitting across looking at a bunch of park models, and he says, you know, another one said, I just paid my mortgage. Now I don't have, what have I got? I can't sell it for anything. It's really diminished my property value. And I think you have to look at what you're doing to the people across the street there. And I don't know that you're doing a good job of it.
I personally think I'm improving the value of the property around there because when I look at the site itself today as is, it's a vacant field. It's being used as a junkyard over there. There's homeless living on the site. We intend to come in and clean the site up, professionally manicure it and maintain it like we do all of our other properties. As far as having a stick-built home in there, you can't do it today. There's no assurance for water. How can you build one? So do you leave it vacant and let it be a homeless camp over there and just let it be a dump? Or do you take it and fix it up and put something there where people can live?
Depends on how you do it and what you do it with and what I mean, you've got tremendous density in your project. You really do. That just knocks you off your pegs to see that kind of density. And as I say, most of the ones, that's what surprised me because, as I say, when I went through the park models, they look good. And then when you get behind it, you've got all of these motor homes and different vehicles that are sitting out there. And as I say, it's not the kind of park you'd be proud of. I don't know what you can do with the motor homes if you've got a area to put them into but you've got some big issues. You've got water ahead of you. It'll be interesting to see if you ever are able to get anything built because you can't get water right now, as you well know. I mean, I'm
Yeah,
sure
I
you've
understand.
visited that.
I understand. Your
Yeah,
first comment about
yeah.
the density, we can do 18 units to the acre with multifamily property, apartments. So if you had 25 acres of that, you'd have over 400 apartments there. So I think the density, the traffic concerns, the water flow would be a lot different and a lot worse than what we're talking about doing. And as
Okay.
far as talking about the RVs that we're gonna bring in there, the motor coach buses, some of them things cost $400,000 or $500,000.
Mm-hmm.
And you're not gonna see them from the street because they're gonna be protected in the center of the park. So if people, like I said, on College Park or Silverleaf or Reef, they're gonna look in and see the back side of park models that'll be set in the ground. So if you
Okay.
can't see what's in there, what's the difference to them? I mean, it's gonna be very expensive, high-end buses in there.
Donna, you had some questions.
Yeah, I have questions and some comments. First of all, thank you very much. The drawings helped, and like Mr. Powell, I drove that area. From the citizens, there was really three main things that I heard. Was obviously the water issue, and like Matt, I'm not, an expert on that. The traffic flow was a concern to me because several people mentioned that. And then the home values. And I know that in other areas that have developed like this, it has increased the property value for the surrounding areas. In terms of the RV sites, some of the areas, in doing some research, I know that the 12 months or less, you don't have to worry about the water. But I also found out in calling some of the ones from around the state was that they required for RVs coming into their area, if it was for a weekly or monthly rental for the drive-throughs, that they were required that they had to be like 10 years or newer models. So I don't know if that's something that you all have looked at, if that's something that you've considered, because as Mr. Powell said, the neighbors are trying to be good neighbors, and I know that you want to do that as well. So I think that for something like this, if I was living in that area, the peace of mind is that I know that they're not going to be 25-year-old, motorhomes coming in there and setting up and that kind of thing. So I'm curious about that. And then also, as far as the studies you said about the home values, I know that in some they said that they did go up. Have you done in the projects that you've done, have you done any kind of analysis that showed that, that the property values did go up for those neighborhoods? In what way?
Typically, they stay the same or go up. We have the park on Rancho Val Vista on Treckle. I don't think anything's got affected around that place as far, and I think the stuff across the street probably has come up in value. That's the best illustration I can give you for a property we have here in town. As far as the type of RVs we're going to bring in there, we plan on bringing in Class A motor coaches. We're going to have a large investment here. We're going to have pretty much $20 million in this project, the time we're finished with it, with all of the impact fees, all the different studies that we have to do, the development costs. So we're not going to bring a bunch of junk in here. It has to be high-end to make it work for us.
And all the park models are going to be new?
All the park models in manufactured homes will be all brand new.
Okay.
Every one of them. As far as the RVs coming in, they'll probably be 10, 12 years old at the oldest, but some of them you might get in there that's 15 years old, but it still might be a $200,000 bus.
Correct.
So who wants to say no to that? As far as having a junkyard in there, we actually tried to buy the safari place. I consider that being an eyesore. Others may think it's a wonderful place. We considered buying it. I tried to attempt and reach out to the owner several times to purchase the property, to scrape it and start over and put new homes in there. Can't get a hold of anybody. They won't return my phone calls. So we personally don't like that type of projects. And there's a home for everything. I understand that. But we're not going to go and put all this money into a project to turn a project into something like that. You see Rancho Val Vista, it's coming on 10 years old now, I think. Still is maintained, good condition. So we do take care of our properties. We don't believe in neglecting them.
Okay, thank you.
And also, one other thing, I brought up to you guys our last meeting for Spanish Trails, I would try to stay local with contractors. We have done that. Everybody we've hired at Spanish Trails has been local to do the development there.
Great, thank you. Mary?
So just to reiterate, this is an age-restricted
Yes.
community and that. And just to visualize it for repetition, The RVs will be on the inner part of the
Correct.
project.
Yes, the
So
outline will be park models.
anybody from the road, what I'm going to see if I drive back down through Silver Reef, and that, what I'm going to see is landscaping, and then a wall, and then the park models.
Yes, correct.
So everything, that's what's going to be showing.
Yes, correct.
Okay.
The west wall, sorry to interrupt you, the west boundary wall will be RVs in there, also motor coaches, but that's going to back up to eventually what's going to be another car garage, I understand.
Onto the commercial. And then there's the proposed use as RV storage, and so that's for folks that bring their RVs, then they're not gonna be staying there, they're gonna go up to Washington State, then they'll be, is it gonna be like a covered area, is it gonna be?
It's going to be partially covered, some of it will be. We're going to have boat storage there, car storage, it's not just for RVs.
Okay,
And we'll probably have some indoor storage there at that site
and
also.
that'll back up over what's already commercial up over to the west there?
Yeah, that's where the car dealership, all their cars is for service or repair or whatever they do with them is
Very
backed up
good.
over there.
Okay?
Lisa?
Well, first of all, thank you, you know, for coming to our community and getting projects like this that are in need. And I think we have to remember that, you know, there's a need for everyone in our community, and we're limited on certain homes. And, you know, this particular project I can see, you know, is for a particular, you know, for the 55 and older. And we talked about this when Spanish Trails came through, that not everyone wants a home with a big backyard and all the maintenance and everything. So there is a need for this particular unit, you know, project for our community. Of course, it, you know, concerns me when you have community members that live in the area, and I appreciate David and Nancy coming and expressing your concerns, because we need to, you know, make sure that we're addressing all that. And so, you know, you try to figure out, I mean, the project itself, of course, I feel there is a need for this. I like the transition and the diversity I mean, this is a piece of land that, you know, is perfect for infill. You know, there's not a whole lot we can do in this particular area, especially with the assured water that's needed. So, you know, I like the setup that to the west, you know, you have the car dealerships up on Courtson, you have the retail, and then, of course, you know, the manufactured homes. So I think the only thing that, you know, I hope you are hearing with what the community is saying, you know, the neighbors, because it is a big issue, but it looks like the next steps in the process will address that. You know, I think you guys talked about, you know, that they're gonna have to do drainage, traffic analysis, and, you know, the sewer report. So I would imagine at that point, if there's concerns, or, you know, that'll be addressed, and something will happen at that point. But I just wanna make sure that when they do these drainage reports and everything, that it's a pretty detailed drainage report, so we can address these issues. Because I mean, I understand, you know, where you're coming from. I grew up here too. I've driven down that road after the storms. Like, we're not supposed to, when we were kids, we'd fly down the road and see the water going all over the place. But I understand, and I live on the other side of Cottonwood and drive down Casa Grande Avenue all the time. So I really hope that, and it looks like you are, you know, meeting with the neighbors and trying to, you know, come up with solutions. And Matt, I appreciate you bringing that up, you know, with the park models along Silver Reef, and thank you for being flexible to accommodate, you know, those concerns. So I feel good about it, and I really do feel it's a need. And I know Nancy talked about, you know, the transient population, and, you know, with motorhomes and leased units, and you have that with multifamily too, you know, because a lot of times, like the mayor said, people sign yearly leases and kind of come and go. But this population they contribute a lot to our economy. I mean, when you look at some of our winter visitors, not some, when they come into our community, and the amount of money they spend in our community is critical. And, you know, when they're bringing in $500,000 vehicles. This is not, I mean, people have pride, and these are their homes that they're bringing in. So I think it's a different population than transients coming in and out. These people, this population, does have pride, and having a gated community, I would imagine there's some type of HOA type fee, right, where you're gonna maintain the property, have requirements for the homes.
It's the lease, yeah.
Since it's leased, they're gonna have to maintain it.
Since it's leased, we require them to maintain it. We're always after them we have rules and regulations they have to abide by.
Right.
As far as the traffic goes, on this type of project, 55 and older, we have built apartment buildings. We've owned 1,200 units. On this type of project, 55 and older, you have average daily trips. It's much lower than a multifamily project that would be here. So you have less traffic that's going to create. As far as the transient goes, if I had built a multifamily, I can't do no more than 12 months there either because of the water issue we have going on here. But we find in the average in apartments, it was roughly 75% of our units turned every 13 months. So it's a floating population, transient that's always in and out of them. They had a higher crime rate than this type of property would do. And this type of property, believe it or not, like the mobile home people that buys the manufactured home, they're there, that's their home if they're here for the season or for the year. The RVers, they come in groups and they return to that property every year. So it's the same people, for the first couple of years, it's not that way. But as the word gets out there and they bring their friends, it's repeat people that come back to that property every year. So when they leave in March to go home to wherever they're going to, they already have their season reservated for the following year or the following season. Some of them even pay a year ahead to keep that space on because they'll put a shed or they'll put some of their utilities, their tools, leave it there. So it's pretty much the same people you get year after year in there.
So I think the only thing that I would like to see moving forward, Paul, is when they do that drainage study and whatever we can do to really address, because it seemed like that was consistent, like you said, Donna, that was consistent in the letters we received and the complaints and the people that are here today, is that drainage. And so if there's something we can do,
Absolutely.
Of course, I think that's what I would like to see.
And no matter what the project someday would be developed to, they're going to have to address the drainage issue. So it isn't just because it's a mobile home park or an RV park. It's going to have to be, whatever it would be, it would need to be addressed.
Okay, thank you.
Is it Paul or Peter?
Peter.
Peter.
Oh, did I
okay.
say Paul? Sorry.
Whatever.
I thought I wrote it down wrong.
I thought you were looking at Paul Tice. So.
Yeah, I thought you were talking to Paul.
I was talking to Paul
Okay.
also. That's probably it.
Peter, thank you. I have a couple of comments, but they're similar to, I think, what you've heard already. I think the water issue is probably your number one issue. And if you can help mitigate some of the water on Casa Grande Avenue, you'd be a hero.
Plus, for us all, we have the other project down the street. We don't want flooding.
Right, well, yeah, you share the same street there, so.
Yep.
And this silver reef is gonna go all the way through, right?
That's what I'm
Does
told.
Does it go through now?
No.
It doesn't?
It stops at College Park, I believe
Yeah.
it is.
So just past College, right, just past the park, it
No,
stops?
at Olive, actually.
Right there where the park
Yeah,
is.
Yeah. Okay, so it's gonna go all the way through, so that will give some relief out to Pinal.
It was never there before.
Right, correct. And then the other piece that, if you could help the community and you could show them how you're gonna maybe share a green space through here, because there's green space to your south, and you're doing that same sharing down in your other park that's on the other side of College Park.
They're going to have the trail that wraps around Spanish Trails. It's not actually going to come through the park. It's all going to be private.
Right, but it wraps around the park,
So
right?
it comes, it would be east on Viola. So it comes down south from College Park to Viola, crosses
And then
Viola.
connects with O'Neill Park.
Yeah, and it goes,
So can you connect it up through this park here?
I
It
think
is
the
there on the
plan
yellow.
shows,
On the left side? On
I think the plan shows on the left
west
side.
where the little yellow dots are, the 20-foot open space corridor?
Oh, okay, so there is gonna be a corridor through there?
Yeah, there's going to be a connection to the parks through
Well,
there.
you need to accent that, show it more.
I thought Joe did, or James did.
There's yellow dots.
It says open space corridor.
Right, but connect it to College Park, connect it on down, show how it's gonna be a longer trail. I think it'll help connect the neighborhood and the park and O'Neill Park.
Yeah, I believe that's what the intention was, I think.
So I can help speak to that. So along Silver Reef, there will be a trail that will begin at College Park that extends west to the edge of the development. You could sort of see that on the screen with the little yellow dots.
Right, I see it now.
And there's an open space corridor that's one of the conditions on the ordinances that'll be dedicated to the public for a trail easement. It's an area of 20 feet
Okay.
that will skirt the west side of the development, both the PAD RV
And then can you
area
just
and
go all the
B2.
way up to the creek and then over to Dave White?
Right.
Trying to get my trail system built.
Yeah, nice
Actually, the
try.
reason why they're providing for that spur is what we call it, up to Quartzen, is because it does tie in with a trail identified per our regional trail plan known as the
Well, highlight.
Elaine Farms
I'd
spur
suggest
trail.
you highlight a little more of that. That's just my suggestion. Because then it shows you're community-minded, and it fits also with what we're trying to do, which is to build a trail system. So, and I will tell you, I live across the street from the Casa Grande RV park, and it's a very nice park. And my property values have not gone down. I live in Coyote Ranch, and they are good neighbors, and there are park models in there, and there are RVs in there. And I've seen, there's at least 3 or 4 other communities here in Casa Grande that are ground set manufactured homes, and every one of them is still in very good shape, and some are 20, 30 years old. And they do take pride in those facilities, and I've not seen a bad ground set manufactured home community here in Casa Grande, and I've been in all of them. So I would say that I live across the street from one of these parks, and it's not crime ridden. So I just say, especially if you have a reputation, and did you say you did the one on the ranchero?
That's my partner, who is partners on Spanish Trails, and they'll be partners on this park as
The
well.
one off of Treckle?
Yep.
Yeah,
Rancho Val Vista.
that's a beautiful, beautiful park.
Yeah, and they maintain it just like, that's the way we maintain them.
Yeah.
Because if you don't, it runs down and you start looking like the park that's just south of it over
Well,
time.
but that one actually just got bought out, and they're
Yep.
actually trying to clean it up, so.
But who wants to let it go that way? You have all your money
Yeah,
tied
no,
up in there.
and that's, I think, the vision that people have is
They
something
do.
like that.
It's a stigma it has.
Yeah, yeah. And you're not a mobile home, you're a manufactured home.
Yeah, politically correct.
Okay. And then just the landscape, I would accent your landscape and views and what people will see.
Okay.
That's just my suggestion.
Okay.
Does anybody else have any questions or comments? I mean, the water will be the water. It's going to be an issue you're going to have to deal with. But we'd love, if you could help us resolve some of that flooding on Casa Grande Avenue, like I said, that'd be huge. And that community center, that 2-acre piece you have in there, could also be a drainage basin.
Some of it will. We're not going to have a 2-acre building. We'll probably have a 10 to 12,000 foot building with a pool, some pickleballs, but yeah, some of that
Okay.
will be drainage.
Okay, all right. Anybody else? Okay,
Thank you, everyone.
thank you. Seeing no other comments, then we have already had the public hearing, so can I get, for on L2, an ordinance number, please?
Ordinance number 1178.371.1. An ordinance of the Council of the City of Casa Grande, Arizona, amending zoning ordinance 1178 and its subsequent amendments by changing the zoning from single-family residential attached to general business on property approximately 9.9 acres of property located generally at Quartzen Road, Silver Reef Road, and Casa Grande Avenue, Casa Grande, Arizona.
Mayor McFarland, I would move for the passage of ordinance number 1178.371.1 as presented.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Can I get a roll call vote, please? Gloria?
Councilmember Huddleston.
Yes.
Councilmember McBride.
Yes.
Councilmember Herman.
Yes.
Councilmember Cortson.
Yes.
Councilmember Powell.
No.
Mayor Pro Tem Fitzgibbons.
Yes.
Mayor McFarland.
Yes. Okay, the next item is item L3. Can I get a ordinance number for this one, please?
Ordinance number 1178.371.2. An ordinance of the Council of the City of Casa Grande, Arizona, amending zoning ordinance 1178 and its subsequent amendments by changing the zoning from single-family residential attached to mobile home residential on approximately 22.5 acres of property located generally at Cortson Road, Silver Reef Road, and Casa Grande Avenue, Casa Grande, Arizona.
Mayor McFarland, I move approval of ordinance number 1178.371.2 as presented.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Can I get a roll call vote, please, Gloria?
Councilmember Huddleston.
Yes.
Councilmember McBride.
Yes.
Councilmember Herman.
Yes.
Councilmember Cortson.
Yes.
Councilmember Powell.
No, I would like to just comment that I don't think this intensity and density that's coming in our general plan is the vision of our community. I really don't. I don't think people in Casa Grande like this kind of density very much, and they don't want to see a lot of it around. I think that right now, suburban homes are the ones that are really selling. People in the cities with the density, they're trying to get out of there because you know what? All the cities are having issues. So the market is really for more suburban homes. And when we get into this kind of density, I don't think we're within the vision of our community. And you can vote like you want, but I've been in the community, probably on the council, at least longer than anybody in here. I'm older than you guys. And I am well in touch with what the vision of our community is, and this is counterproductive to our vision, I think. No.
Mayor Pro Tem Fitzgibbons.
Yes.
Mayor McFarland.
Yes. All right, next item on the agenda is L4, which we have been discussing.
Oh, sorry. I'll wait. I'm going to have a comment on L4. I just jumped the gun a little bit.
Oh.
Can I call for an ordinance number?
You can.
Can I get an ordinance number, please, Gloria?
Ordinance number 1178.371.3. An ordinance of the Council of the City of Casa Grande, Arizona, amending zoning ordinance number 1178 and its subsequent amendments by changing the zoning from single-family residential attached to planned area development recreational vehicle park overlay on approximately 24.9 acres of property located generally at the Cortson Road, Silver Road, and Casa Grande Avenue, Casa Grande, Arizona.
Mr. Mayor, there's been a lot of comment tonight, and one of the themes that I've heard from council has been that a requirement that all park models be ground set. This would be the ordinance in which we would want to add that condition. So if the council so desires, I would like the motion to include adding a condition 6 to read all park models shall be required to be ground set.
Somebody want to so move that?
I think
Yes, sir.
there's a comment.
If we make that a condition for ground set, couldn't it be just on the boundary and not throughout the whole park, since people from Silver Reef or Casa Grande Avenue won't see
Yeah,
inside the
the
park besides the
purpose
boundary.
was this silver, that corridor, correct, Matt?
That was
Yes.
just for Silver
That's
Reef
what I
only.
think would alleviate a lot of it, and you have that uniform look,
Okay,
you know, as to
but if
help.
we can do that ordinance just on Silver Reef and nowhere else throughout the community.
That,
So,
that condition.
yeah, so, in which case I would probably have it read, for condition 6, all park models along the southern boundary of the property shall be required to be ground set.
Okay, that backs up to Silver Reef or,
Yeah, or
along the
we'll
wall
say,
or,
located along Silver Reef Road
okay,
shall be required to be ground set.
thank you.
Okay, you can make that amendment.
So, Mayor McFarland, I move for ordinance number 1178.371.3 with the amendment or condition of all the park model homes along the southern boundary, Silver Reef Road, be ground set.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Gloria, can I get a roll call vote, please?
Councilmember Huddleston.
Yes.
Councilmember McBride.
Yes.
Councilmember Herman.
Yes.
Councilmember Creighton.
Yes.
Councilmember Powell.
No.
Mayor Pro Tem Fitzgibbons.
Yes.
Mayor McFarland.
Yes. Okay, next item on the agenda is our reports, and I will start with you, Lisa.
Not a whole lot. I just wanted to, I'm sure everyone has seen, today was the first day for a lot of schools, the online virtual schooling, and I just wanted, you know, it was just great seeing all the pictures of people with their first day, and I just wanted to wish all the teachers and staff at the schools all the best as, you know, of course, we look at the students and how they're gonna learn, but, you know, for the teachers and principals and everyone to come together and try to make this work and do what they can. I just truly appreciate everything that they've done for our students and wish them all the best. As far as the census, if everyone can remember, we're at 60.6% of a reply rate. So if everyone can make sure they fill out their census, the census workers are knocking on doors. So if you don't get it, and I know my girls live in Tempe, and someone knocked on their door because they didn't do their census yet. So I'm glad they went and knocked on their door. But so just remember, it's really very, very important for our community. And then I just wanted to also, I know the Board of Adjustment met last week and approved the temporary permit for the rest stop for their showers. And I'm just really happy that they approved this permit and for staff helping the rest stop. It's just something that's really important for the community and the homeless, and, you know, if they can get a shower in this weather, you know, it can do wonders. So I wanted to thank the Board of Adjustment and the staff for helping with that. And that's it for me.
Okay. Mr. Powell?
I'm ready to go home.
Is that your report?
That's my report.
Mary?
You know, I don't really have anything to report with everything going on the way it is and that. And again, just, you know, let's support our families and students and teachers and everybody through this. And that's about all I have.
Okay. Matt?
Good luck and be safe.
I just want to reiterate what.
Donna, you're next.
Yes, I do, Mayor, thank you. I just wanted to reiterate what, you know, Lisa had said. I know that the last week there's been a lot of turmoil with the school districts, and I've watched what's happened in other communities, and I am so proud of our school district and the teachers and the passion that they've shown, and you know, a lot of it starts with them. And it was really encouraging to see so much on social media this morning about how the parents were still getting their kids up, getting them dressed, taking their pictures. And that's just the kind of community we are, so I was really proud of that. And then I also just wanted to mention, many of you may have already heard, but one of the champions in our community in the arts lost his battle with cancer last week, Larry Patterson. Him and his wife Cindy are just very dear people to our community, and The flip side was that, you know, he only knew for a week that he had cancer before he lost his life. And during that time, there was a call that had to go out to our fire department. And they went to the house to help him. And when they learned that he was a 20-year retiree of a fire department back east, they say that there's always that brotherhood. And they made his experience a little bit less embarrassing and gave him his sense of pride. And it was just, it was really heartening to spend some time with Cindy this afternoon, and how she said that she was so proud, you know, of our fire department and first responders, and how that brotherhood really meant a lot to her in his last days. So that's it.
Thank you. Bob?
Nothing really to report, but I wanted to chime in on the back-to-school situation. You know, most current events, I can look there and say, well, you know, what they should do is this. I'm so glad it's not our decision to make. I have no idea what the right thing to do, whether it's staying at home, going to school, teachers in, teachers out. Have no idea. So the best I can say, well, the best I can say is our prayers are with them.
Yes.
That's right.
Yeah, for sure.
That's all, Mayor.
Okay, thank you, Bob. I do have a couple things that just wanted to kind of bring everybody up to speed on housing permits. To Mr. Powell's point, we are selling a lot of single-family houses. We had 160 new permits pulled in July, and that brings us up to a total of 557 permits for the year. All of last year, we had 569. So we obviously will pass that this month. That's a 46% increase in number of permits this year, which is absolutely unbelievable considering what we've just gone through. And I will also just throw in the caveat that Maricopa is down 15%.
You'll sleep good tonight.
Yeah, and their year-to-date number is only 535 compared to 557. All right. Also want to remind everybody about COVID-19. Obviously, it is still here. Please continue to do what you're doing. Our numbers are going down, which is good. It's not going down fast. It's like 0.1 a day. It's agonizing, but it is going down. It's going the right direction. So please continue to do what you're doing. Mask up. Try and stay 6 feet apart from people. Sanitize your space. Be smart. Also, if you're interested, there is a new piece out that came out about a week ago from the governor that identifies certain benchmarks that we need to hit as a community. And the benchmarks are set by county. So it's a county level number, and there's 3 of them. And if we get to certain levels, we move from the high, which is the red, to a yellow, to a green. And as we move through these different areas, then we can open up certain businesses. And when we get to yellow, our gyms can actually apply to the health department to open up. So I think we're very close. We're short on one measure right now, and it's the 2 weeks of being under 10% in terms of our infection rates. But we've hit the other 2 benchmarks. So we're green on 2 of the benchmarks. One is the number of cases. It's 100 cases or less per 100,000. We're green on that. And then also on the hospitalizations, we're green on that. The one we're missing is the under 10% for 2 weeks. We're still right at 10%. So we need to be under that 10% now for 2 weeks. And once that happens, we should be able to begin to open up some other businesses that have been closed, including the number 6 licenses and some of the other businesses. So I'm hoping that's going to be the case. If you haven't seen it, the county is doing a great job now on tracking. You don't really need to go to the Arizona Department of Health. You can go to Pinal County online, go to Pinal County and the novel coronavirus. They have a /coronavirus and their public health information. and they have this dashboard. It shows you by age group, the number of infections. It talks about hospitalizations, deaths, number of testing, and then it also has the 3 benchmarks on the second page. If you want to look at it, this will give you where we're at, kind of a snapshot. I've shared this. I think it's also, we have a link available on our website, so go ahead and take a look at it if you want to look at our website. Also, your county board met this last week, and they did lower your property taxes, at least the percentage. Now, depending on whether your property gained value or not, that may or may not mean that you got a lower property tax or not. But just so everybody knows, and I know the council. Yes, we still have the same county assessor. Pinal County, if you took $1 and you divided it up, Pinal County represents 24% of your property tax for every $1 that's collected. The cities and towns are 7%. School districts make up 39%. CAC is 15%, and then there's 15% for other special districts like CFDs and some other districts. So it's an interesting way of looking at the property taxes. I know I talk about that every year, but I just wanted to kind of remind people. Our CARES Act funds, we rolled them out last week. We've had about 20 applications. We have a process. What are we calling it, Larry? You told me. Review team. Thank you. We have a review team that's made up of 2 of our city council members and 3 of our city staff, and their first meeting will be next Monday. So that meeting, hopefully we'll have some more applications, and they'll go through all the applications, and hopefully by next week we should be cutting some checks to some folks who need some help. It's Donna and Lisa and Stephen and Mackenzie and Carla. Those are the 5. And if there's another council member who would like to participate, check with Larry. Well, we can have a guest. We may be able to have a guest council person if you want to sit in on it. I did ask Larry to make sure we kind of get a recap on those requests, so everyone will see what the requests are. And so I don't want to bog down the process by having too many people in it, but and I didn't put myself on it because we had 2 volunteers from the council who volunteered to help. Another piece of that is the internet for the kids that we are working with our school districts. We will probably be issuing checks to each of the school districts based on their needs, and then the school district will be the one that issues the money. Right, so they'll have a budget of about $100 per student who doesn't have access to internet. So it'll be up to the students and the families to decide how they want to access the internet, but it could be a hotspot, it could be Cox's $10 a month, but that's how that's going to be distributed. We're also looking and working with the county on a free COVID testing site here in Casa Grande. We have several sites here in town that are testing. But this is one that's going to be actually sponsored by the county, and it will be free. No, they're going to do the nose drill. They have one that's not quite as evasive now, but I think that's, yeah, anyway. They're going to be doing it, I think we're narrowing it into Lincola. Using Lincola because right now the Boys and Girls Club is using it, but they're going to move out to Ironwood, or Palo Verde, excuse me. They're going to move down to Palo Verde so they can double the number of kids they can see. And then that will actually, we're going to close Lincola, at least for now, but we can use it for this testing, so it'll be a good testing site. Yeah. Is this on the agenda? Yes. The answer would be yes. That's on my agenda. Yep. It's on the radar.
Just a question too. The reimbursement for the funds given has to be done, right?
Has to be done.
I mean, they're supposed to repay like $10,000 or whatever.
No, the monies that we receive from the CARES Act is a grant. So the grant is given to help relieve a COVID-19 issue or business issue. It could be utilities, they couldn't pay rent. It could be used for any PPE, so for protective, if they put up plastic in their accounts.
I'm
they
just
could pay for
talking
that.
about businesses.
Yeah, but I
They
mean, like,
don't have to reimburse.
no, they don't have to
No,
reimburse,
they-
Mr. Powell, it's a grant. And then the last thing I have is the general plan. We finished final analysis of the final 4 elements of review, and so we're going to begin to put together the agenda for the public hearings on the general plan, and I just want to make sure that everybody keeps that on their radar and keep an eye out for those those public hearings. I'm not sure how we're going to do it, whether it's a Zoom type meeting or I don't know that we can get everybody in the same room to do that kind of thing, but you will start to see it. There's also going to be a city council study session on it, so you'll get a full briefing on it. So just want to bring everybody up to speed on that, and that's all I have. Anything else from staff? No, sir. Council members?
We good.
Okay. Meeting adjourned. Thank you.